Hello and welcome back to our latest episode of the La Project with me, your host Han Royani, and my co-host
BJ, what's up?
Alright, so we're just gonna get straight into it today. We're actually gonna cover some local news because over the last week we've covered the ASEAN Summit at Wisma MCA. So today we'll be back to regularly scheduled programming.
Yep.
So some of the biggest political news to have come out of Malaysia over the last week. You might have heard of it.
The non-reshuffle cabinet reshuffle.
Yeah, so there's a small cabinet reshuffling.
No, it's not a cabinet reshuffle.
Okay, it's not
officially.
Officially, it's not.
Officially, it's not a cabinet reshuffle.
But basically, Nurul Izzah just won the deputy director seat for PKR.
Yep.
Pretty much. And she beat Rafizi Ramli.
Yep.
She got the majority vote of over 70%.
Yep.
Over Rafizi Ramli, which prompted Rafizi Ramli to actually quit or leave his seat as he was the minister of
the economics minister.
Yeah.
De facto economics minister.
Yeah. So and he was also the second in line for PKR. Before all this,
Technically, officially, yeah.
Officially, yes, but now because of his loss to Nurul Izzah, he has decided to leave his seat. And another politician.
Not only that, I think he resigned all his posts.
Yeah, he resigned.
Like even cabinet posts, everything. Right.
Yeah. And because of that, another friend of his, Nick Nazmi, he also decided to leave his seat as the Setiawangsa MP. And basically from that result where Nurul Izzah won, a lot of things have happened.
Yeah.
But
I think Rafizi specifically, he went on leave like a month before.
That's right.
The party elections.
Yeah.
So
something was brewing.
Writing was on the wall, I guess.
Yeah. And he came up with like a press conference a few days before saying that he already gave signs that he wanted to leave. Yeah, actually.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame because the I think core differentiator of PKR especially against UMNO was that they have a lot of the technocrats.
Right.
You know, the Rafizis, the Nick Nazmis of the world.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate that even they are jumping ship from PKR now, leaving them partyless and leaving the party essentially rudderless.
Yeah.
You know, like they don't really have a heading, don't know where they're going. Doesn't seem like they have a true identity other than going back to the old. It's just like it just seems like a new kind of UMNO is forming within PKR, which is unfortunate, which is not supposed to, which is not the way it's supposed to be, but it is what it is.
So you kind of wonder what is the next step for PKR because they have just lost some valuable members, I would say.
Valuable in terms of, I agree, like I said, in terms of Rafizi and Nick Nazmi, these people, they are the ones that, especially the youth, like our generation and younger, these are people that we sort of look up to and we thought were going to be the wave of change of the next generation.
Right.
However, with it being how it is now, it's also good for them in the sense that they consolidated their power, especially within the Malay community, the rural Malay community.
Or you're talking about
PKR. Because of how the way of how they're doing things now, it's essentially giving them more cachet with the rural Malay community.
Right.
The ones that what I'm referring to, the communities that I'm referring to, or the voter base that I'm referring to, is the ones that have always historically been voting for UMNO.
Right.
So this gives them like a step in the door to be like, yo, we can be an alternative here for you guys. You know, we're not just thinking about, because for lack of like just completely trying to be transparent, especially in the wake of the last general election, right?
Right.
When they formed like PKR and UMNO formed the unity government and all that, there were, especially even going back to pre-COVID when Mahathir was had his second term as PM, there was, especially in the wake of that, in the months leading up from the general election to the Sheraton move, there was a lot of criticism of the day's government of being, or at least putting aside, not prioritizing the Malay communities anymore, you know, and more. A lot of people were saying like they were more focused towards the urban communities, more focused towards the non-Malay communities, you know. And yeah, like it is what it is. Malaysia has evolved so much, especially as a demographic, you know. We have like, even though technically numbers wise the Chinese and the Indians racially are the minority, however, in terms of, especially in the urban areas, they are quite equal, if not have surpassed a lot of the Malay communities.
So,
you know?
So then would you say,
especially economically,
would you say that with the departure of Nick Nazmi and also Rafizi, Ramli, would you say they have lost a lot of the I wouldn't say urban Malay votes, but maybe
I think so. I think urban Malay votes are in there as well. Votes? Yeah, because the urban Malays, like a lot of them, especially 40 and below, 45 and below.
Sure.
A lot of them are mostly quite liberal, you know, not very conservative in the UMNO sense of it, you know, wanting more diversity and all that.
Right.
So it hurts them with that demographic. I'm pretty sure about that. But at the same time, like I said, numbers wise, you know, it's probably going to help them in the long term, and or at least in the very not in the long, in the very short term.
And while we're talking about this election that Nurul Izzah just won, a lot of people online have been sort of complaining about like nepotism and all this stuff, but you know, it's taking away all her credibility, I would say, because she has been in politics scene for a long time. Okay, and maybe
you're referring to Nurul Izzah.
I'm referring to Nurul Izzah, and I mean, like the fact that she won, I'm not sure how it happened, like in terms of the voting when the election happened.
Backroom deals were there.
Backroom deals were. I'm not sure what happened. I'm not implying anything. It's just that, you know, it helps that she was also the daughter of the Prime Minister.
Yes, also, yep.
But the fact that people are saying that, oh, this is just they say it's a family affair. You know, it takes away a lot of her.
I mean, if PMX is going to be, I think, to be honest, if I were him, I'd take this route and I'd be like, yo, it is what it is. It is what it is. She won fair and square.
Oh yeah,
you know, like, play that card. Don't be like, you know, try to be defensive about it. Look, it is what it is. She's your daughter. Right. She's your eldest daughter. You have been grooming her even before you went to jail to take over one day.
Of power,
you know, so like, own up to it, dude. Like, I don't know.
He shouldn't be defensive about it.
Nah. Like, it's nepotism. Call it what it is. You know, accept it. Like, it is what it is. Mahathir, when he was in power, he had his own forms of nepotism.
Right.
Yeah, his children were never openly officially in politics when he was in politics. Yes, but you know, they got advantages on you know, in other industries, in other places as well.
Yeah, but somehow Mahathir never had to sort of defend his kids to be in a position of power.
No, because he was a strong man. He always was. He didn't care about those kind of criticism. He didn't care that two of his kids became billionaires while he was in office. No. He's like, okay, like, it is what it is.
Okay.
And if Anwar, I think if Datuk Seri Anwar is going to go down this route, you should just commit to it. Like, people know, well, maybe people don't really know what happened, like you said, the backroom news and all that, but at the end of the day, the appearance is just too obvious to ignore. You know, it's his daughter. It's not like they've been estranged. It's not like they have a relationship or whatnot. Like, he has been grooming her for her whole life, essentially. You know, so like, own up to it. It is what it is.
Yeah, so a lot of change is happening in the PKR, and then also another politician that has just left his seat was Tengku Zafril.
Zafrul, yeah.
Zafrul,
Yeah.
sorry.
He resigned all posts from UMNO as well, I think.
Yes, he did. And he was previously the Minister of Trade.
Yeah, International Trade and Industry. Yeah,
Do you think it, because it happened right after ASEAN Summit,
yeah.
do you think that played a part into...
I think it was writing on the wall as well. Because Zafrul is from the same camp as the KJs,
Right.
the Rafizis of the world, you know, like he's like in the intellectual technosphere, you know.
Right.
So he's essentially like just he, like KJ, chose to do it within UMNO. It is what it is, you know, and it didn't work out the way it is. But you know, when you push all these people to the side, and it's like the same thing that happened to those famous podcasters before the Trump election, in 2024.
Like what?
Like you know, like the Joe Rogan, Andrew Schultz, like these people that the Theo Vaughns of the world, they were interviewing Donald Trump and they were getting flack for it. You know, like and a lot of these people went to networks to get their shows off the ground, and the networks didn't want them, like, what the hell's podcasting, this and that. But they went indie, and now they have shows that are bigger than any of the network shows. You know, so like it pays off, and you know, maybe what I'm saying is that especially look at how KJ has done things, right?
Yeah.
And he's essentially been building up all the public goodwill just by being out of politics. He's still talking about politics, but he's out of politics. I'm not involved. I'm not in UMNO. I'm not in anything, but I'm still going to talk about it. And even by doing that, like giving his actual views, he's actually gaining more and more and more supporters. You know, especially with the youth. You know, so like that group, if they choose to coalesce and consolidate their power, it's going to be so powerful.
Yes.
One day.
Because KJ right now, he's like amassing like followers. Right?
Yeah.
People who are not even interested in politics.
Yep.
So eventually, I think maybe he will get back into the politics scene. Maybe he'll create a new party with like the likes of...
You never know,
Rafizi.
right?
You never know. Yes. Okay. So anyway, back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah, we have quite an interesting interview here today.
Yes. So we have...
I don't think we've ever done this kind of interview before.
So, I mean, we've talked about a lot of things, but today is the first time
mostly our issues are like social issues and environmental issues, right? Yeah.
So today will be the first episode where we'll delve into fitness, delve into health.
Yep.
So we're introducing our guest for today. She's a fitness instructor, fitness influencer, and gut expert. So please welcome to the show, Rita Mangan.
Woo!
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Hello everyone.
Yes, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for coming on the show and spending your time. So basically, Rita, would you mind sharing a bit about what you do and how you got into fitness and also gut health?
Well, how I got into fitness was because I generally wanted to help people feel better. So I was working in an office. I wanted to help people feel better physically, mentally, mainly because a lot of people would ask me, you know, how do you keep slim? How have you got so much energy? And I think at the time, like, I didn't really know the answer. Maybe telling them what I was doing, you know, at the time, a bit of running, a bit of yoga. And also I was eating quite healthily.
Right.
So then I would pass on these information to my friends.
The little tips.
Yeah, little tips, little friends and colleagues. And then I actually went off to do a personal training course.
Okay.
And then that involved a bit of nutrition as well.
Right.
But how I got into gut health specifically was something a little bit more personal. So in 2015, 10 years ago, my intestines are twisted. So it's called a volvulus. And unfortunately, they couldn't save my intestines. So they had to remove 2 meters of my intestines. It's probably the first time that I knew we have about 8 meters of intestines.
Yeah.
So when 2 meters were removed, it kind of affected me physically and mentally. You can imagine, like, I was going to the toilet more often, chronic diarrhea. I had fear around food, what to eat, when to eat, where to eat. And then that just affected me mentally. Again, I had no energy. And yeah, it just affected me. And I think during the years, I've realized like that's how the gut and the brain are connected.
Right. And how far back was this? That you realized that you had to take out
the intestines? It was 10 years ago, 2015.
Wow.
On the day itself was 28th of February 2015.
Wow.
And I was in the UK at the time. I'd just become a personal trainer. I was working in this gym for about 6 months or so. And then that happened. And you sort of have to kind of relearn how to live in this new body because you know how your old body function. I'd been living in it for 30 years, but getting to know this new body and asking questions to doctors, because obviously you assume doctors know how to fix you, but again, it was it's so rare. And people who have had their intestines removed, probably from like Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, when different parts of the intestines are removed, you have different symptoms afterwards. But like our body's a bit like, I guess, a machine or an engine. Like without one part there, it's going to affect something else.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you discovered your intestines were twisted while you were in the UK.
Yeah.
Was there a reason?
Like how did you notice? Or like were you having like chronic stomach pains or?
It would just happen that morning. It was in the morning. I just had a stomach ache. I was like, oh, maybe this will go away. Maybe I just rushed my breakfast.
Right.
I think I had granola with milk and.
You thought it was the fiber doing its thing.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I grew up with a lot of vegetables anyway. Like my dad used to plant vegetables like spinach or potatoes and things. So I always grew up with a lot of vegetables, a lot of fiber. But I was actually a little bit more on a protein diet, because when you become a personal trainer, you sort of follow all your colleagues, like high protein training, let's get bigger and get leaner. And you sort of fall into that until you find your own path. And then you're like, okay, I'm a bit different. I'm a bit more of a holistic kind of coach rather than the kind of beefy style, right? And there was only like 2 other ladies, 2 other female personal trainers in the gym I was working at, and the rest, 10 of them were guys. So you kind of fall into that trap, right? But no, so that day, I had a pain in my stomach and it just got worse and worse. So I thought, okay, like, I said, do I need painkillers? I was on the bus at the time and I was going to go visit my sister to catch a train. And this pain was so, like, it developed into something so painful, like just 10 times worse or 100 times worse than like your period cramps or diarrhea pain or whatever, sorry. But like, I was like, okay, no painkiller is going to get rid of this. And then suddenly when I needed to get off the bus, I couldn't move. Like, and then this lady had to help carry my weekend bag. And then I just had to like crouch over. And she said, shall I call the ambulance? And I said, she had to say yes. Like, you're like, Tamam nyusakan orang. I don't want to like disturb anyone. I don't want to kind of trouble anyone. And she's like, I said, yes, actually, can you call the ambulance? And she called the ambulance, but it would take half an hour. And I thought, I felt like it was so, I felt like I couldn't wait. She said, okay, let's walk. She said, can you walk? I went, okay, I'll try. And then she put me in a taxi and went to the hospital. And the drive was so, going at lots of speed bumps in England, 20 miles an hour. And then I was like, this is so painful. And then I remember paying the driver like this, like just so painful, giving him like some money. And then got into the hospital and it was test after test. I was just in so much pain. I was just vomiting and vomiting. And they couldn't figure it out until they had to cut me open. In the end, the test couldn't show, but they said they had to look inside. So that was about 10 hours of just being in constant pain.
Wow.
And then they did warn me, I think before I went under anesthetic, that they may have to cut me open and sign something. And then I woke up and was like, oh my goodness. But still, like, So I was in hospital for about 9 days. We discussed like what could have caused it, but we still don't know.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they have their theories, like it could have been stress, or it could have been that I was actually intolerant to something for so long. And then I left it and never noticed noticed it. Some say it's a weak mesentery. Mesentery is actually like a sheath that feeds the colon with blood.
Okay.
So it sort of hangs down, going down. So your diaphragm's this way.
Right.
The other one's like a sheath that just, everyone's going to start Googling now, mesentery.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure,
Yeah. And so that feeds, it gives the blood to the colon so it can do the work in the intestines. Intestines can do the work. So some say like, did you have a history of constipation? So I don't, but some members of my family have constipation. So it could have been that. So still not sure.
Until today?
Yeah. So I'm not sure what happened.
I know of a case very similar to that, but he suffered from ulcerative colitis.
Yeah.
And he pretty much went almost 4.5 years, like completely undiagnosed. Like they couldn't figure out what was going on.
To those, I've learned now, like, when it's so painful to eat because there's ulcers in the intestine.
I think it's an intestine thing. Like it's so hard to look for the root cause of it. Because like you're eating, eating is a part of the human lifestyle. And you can't really, especially to the moment that it happens, you can't track back to see every single meal that you've had.
No.
So I think that's part of what
So
when you get sakit perut, when you get a stomachache, you just think it's the stomach, but really it could be the intestines. It's just sort of like a referred pain to the stomach.
Right.
So when that happened, you had to do a surgery basically. And how long did it take for you to recover? Because you mentioned they had to take out.
You were in the hospital for 9 days.
9 days, yeah. So so the reason I was in for 9 days is because I could only leave if I pass wind or I go to the toilet.
Oh, so that was the criteria for you. Okay, you fart. Okay, you can go back.
Yeah.
It's actually the same for pregnant women as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
especially the ones that get
that
cut.
had a
C-section,
C-section.
yeah.
So they have to both go to the toilet 1 and 2. Then only you can go home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because I think it is something to do with the anesthesia.
Right.
Yeah. Quite possibly, yeah.
So that means if you fart a lot, that means you might have a healthy stomach? Is that?
That's good. We will get into that. Yeah. It's funny because I had that question on Instagram. But,
I'm pretty sure.
I don't want to eat beans, but you need to. So I was then able to eat liquid foods. Now, what I probably misunderstood was I probably shouldn't have had a smoothie. So my brother came to visit and brought me like a fruit smoothie. And I think it was too much for the digestion. So then I had to have a kind of a pipe, I guess a tube. Yeah, like a small hose pipe up my nose to suck out the food that I'd eaten, but I think it was too much in the stomach.
Yeah.
So then, because they had to sew my intestines back together, like the large and the small back together at an angle. And later I got to see that actually. You can see the scar tissue and the stitches. So then I went to broth. So what they meant was broth, not soup.
Yeah.
So like chicken broth, miso soup, like
so
that.
it's just you boil the chicken and then the water is the broth.
They gave me hospital food, but I wasn't allowed to eat solids. Like whoever my friends came to visit, nobody wants to eat hospital food actually. Yeah. And then so once that was better, then I had things like miso soup and juices. I was on a drip all this time, so I was still getting liquids into my body. And so once I went to the toilet, yes, I could go home. I was just so ready to go home. 9 days in the hospital.
It's too long.
That was on that side, but I guess I've got this scar that I had to heal. So I had to do like gentle walks. Even like taking one flight of stairs was quite difficult. I had to like make sure I was coughing. The doctor's physio had to come in to check that I was coughing and I was okay before I left hospital.
Was this experience considered like your way into gut health, and is that why you are quite prominent, or at least you talk a lot about gut health nowadays?
I didn't initially because I didn't know. Because I think the first few months I just wanted to get back to normal, wanted to get back to my life. I working in this gym, wanted to get back into my clients because I was so excited to help them on their health journey. I sort of wanted to forget it happened. Like, oh no, I'm fine. I'll go back to normal. Doctor said I'll be fine. But yet I'm going to the toilet 6-7 times a day. I had no energy. But that was like the first few weeks. And then I sort of got some strength back. You know, I could do like a plank. I could do a plank.
Okay.
So like before I'd crawl up the stairs, now I can walk up the stairs, you know.
Okay.
But I think it sort of hit me later on, like let's say like 6 months later, it really hit me like, oh my God, I just had major surgery.
Right.
And I wanted to go back to doing fitness videos, and it was all quite hardcore stuff.
Right.
But really I didn't take the time to heal, didn't take time to really absorb what happened, or to accept what had happened. And I just felt like I couldn't live like this anymore.
Right.
Like, you know, going to the toilet 6 times a day, no energy. Why am I not like myself anymore? Why can't I get back to how I was? I was on codeine for like the pain, but that also reduced my bowel movements. I was on loperamide to reduce my bowel movement, but still I had problems after problem. And then like I couldn't breathe properly. I mean, then I later realized I wasn't breathing properly into my stomach. I just breathed into my chest. So that caused a lot of anxiety because your body thinks that you're in a fight or flight.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah.
You're in constant stress. And then
Did it affect your metabolism as well?
I was actually very skinny at the time because I couldn't like absorb nutrients.
Right.
So then when I changed medication, I was a lot better. But that took nearly 2 years for medication to change.
Wow.
But before that, I sort of had to see someone mentally to help with like these kind of not so happy thoughts, dealing with the new body, dealing with the stress of life and trying to cope and not eating out, always cooking. It gets stressful when you have to cook every meal.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, you know how Malaysians, one of the best things about being Malaysian is that our food is so good.
Yeah.
And Malaysians eat so many different varieties.
So greasy too. Though.
Yeah, a lot of greasy food, a lot of like fried stuff. So, and you mentioned earlier that our gut actually has a connection to our brain. So, how do you explain like how our gut health affects our mood or mental clarity?
Okay. So at the beginning, like for me, I was always eating a lot of, after the operation, I was told to eat a lot of meat, a lot of protein.
Oh, after the surgery?
Yeah, after the surgery, and a lot of carbs. Make it simple carbs so that it's easy on the stomach to digest, which is true. Again, when you eat a lot of protein.
Like rice and bread?
Yeah, rice and bread, potatoes, a lot of potatoes in England, mashed potatoes, baked potatoes.
A lot of baked beans.
Yeah, a lot of baked beans. Funny enough, I wasn't eating a lot of beans at the time. Spuds, yeah. So I would eat that kind of food to slow down my digestion process, which worked, which definitely worked. But I think sometimes I'd eat so much that it's like my stomach can't digest. I'm in, pain to digest. That's the stomach itself before it goes down into the intestines.
That's me every Ramadan.
It's a lot of us, right? Yeah. And yes, it did its job. So I kept on avoiding a lot of vegetables. I kept to like easy vegetables. I thought, okay, I'm okay with this broccoli. I'll keep with broccoli. So every day I'd just have broccoli. But only later on is I realized that when I added more fiber into my diet, I started to feel better. And it was actually an advice that came from a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. Because only like 3 years later, I came back to Malaysia and had to seek to get a second opinion on things. And the guy's like, oh, your liver's really tired. Obviously, probably like processing food as well as like processing medication that I was taking. So I added things like carrots, beetroot, kale into my diet. It's like more hearty, like more complex carbs into my diet. And I felt so much better. It's like finally I kicked into like gear 3 because I was always like kind of coasting along. I'd have a client and then I'd have to have a nap because I'm so tired.
Right.
Luckily there's gaps in between my clients at the gym. And so then I had more energy and I'm like, I'm starting to feel myself a little bit more. And so that was like around 2018, the 3 years after.
Oh, that's 3 years after.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So I came back. I saw a guy. He had got Jaya 1.
Right.
Just a friend recommended. I got a blood test first.
Okay.
They explained like this was low, that was low. But in England, I was classed as within the normal range, so you're fine. It's not optimum, but you're just fine. But I think the guys here explained that actually you could be better.
Right.
Like I was avoiding things like cashew nuts because I was like, oh, cashew nuts are fatty nut. Let's keep to almonds because that's the better nuts, right? You know, almond, peanuts. But he's like, cashew's got this sort of nutrients in it, that sort of nutrient. I have that, and cinnamon. So then along with the broccoli, the beetroot, the carrot, he said to add these things. And he said to add omega-3.
Eggs.
Omega-3 comes from like your
Fish
fatty
oil.
fish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
So like your sardines, your mackerel. So like sagan ikan kembung is perfect, right?
nice.
Luckily, it's my favorite. And salmon, but again, you can't eat too much salmon. So he said to have chia seeds and flax seeds, blend it and soak it, especially chia seeds. So when I had that, again, that's when I kicked into like gear 3. And then when I started to work on my breath work as well, so I started doing meditation. Before I was doing yoga, the movement of yoga, but I stopped after the operation.
Right.
Then I went just sitting down, doing meditation, just being aware of breath, aware of thought. Again, that was part of my therapy, CBT therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy. And then I looked at like how the mind worked and all that, and I started to understand like how negative thinking really gets you kind of into a black hole a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So then how the food helped. When I had more energy, I started to feel more myself. And then I sort of had a bit more life, you know, my
do
old
more
self.
things.
Yeah, do more things.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later was lockdown life. Then I had more time to look into nutrition. Then that's when I learned about this like prebiotic. Because probiotic, there's a lot of talk about that.
Yes.
Yeah, how it lives in your intestines. But it's about the good and bad bacteria. And so the good bacteria that already lives in our intestine needs feeding with fiber. Hence why I started to feel a lot better when I had a lot more fiber. But a specific fiber like prebiotic is what the gut microbiome loves. It's like fertilizer, like for the species that's in our gut. So like you think of your gut as like a garden.
Ecosystem in there.
Yeah,
Right?
ecosystem. Yeah, it's like our skin as well, right?
Yeah.
Bacteria on our skin. So it's like this garden or this forest. We need to keep feeding it different varieties, different varieties of fruits and vegetables. That's why I say eat the colors of the rainbow. Each color has its specialty.
Right.
Yeah.
So earlier you mentioned when you started feeling it in your stomach, you didn't know that it was a twisted intestine, right? So like, are there any signs or common signs for normal people, you know, to know that your gut health is in problem? Like for example, for you didn't have any signs. You just woke up one day and it was like in pain.
Yeah.
So for the common people, what would be some of the common signs?
I think we might need to look out for like pains when you're eating certain foods. That shouldn't be any like sharp pains when you're eating any food really, unless like you're intolerant to it. And at the moment, a lot of people are becoming intolerant to gluten.
Yes.
Which is
Weak. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
Yeah, weak stomach. But no, it's not actually because of the gluten. It's because of the way that wheat is harvested.
Yes.
Glyphosate, right?
Yes.
So weed killer. So it's that's affecting the crops.
Yes.
And then we're ingesting it, right? And the gut doesn't like all that.
Roundup.
Okay. Like the
Roundup.
chemicals.
Roundup.
Okay.
Yeah.
The thing that you spray on your grass when there's
right.
weeds coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And kill the weeds.
Okay.
So that's why
Pull the
people
weeds
are
out.
becoming like celiac. Celiac disease
disease,
is really, really allergic to gluten,
Yep.
especially in wheat. And it can be other crops that use Roundup. But then you can be intolerant to it. So like a lot of us Asians, we tend to be intolerant to lactose.
Yeah.
So again, there's kind of a sugar in milk.
Yes.
And there are lactose-free cows actually. So people who still want to drink milk, they can. But otherwise, that's why we go for soy milk, right?
Right.
So we just have to be aware of a certain pains in the stomach, certain bloating when you shouldn't be bloating, like a painful bloat. But bloating when you're digesting is normal, you know.
Yeah.
Buka puasa, buka butang juga kan.
I have to do it just now.
Where the getahun, yeah.
Yeah.
So there might be signs on the face. There might be signs on the skin, like eczema or psoriasis. So these things could take a couple of weeks, or it could take a bit longer. So you might have to do a process of elimination diet, like eliminate gluten or wheat. So including your pasta, your bread, your everything, your pao. Somebody says, "Hey, do you eat bread?" You say, "No, I don't eat bread. What do you have for breakfast?" Pao. I'm like,
You know Dr. Jordan Peterson?
Yeah.
Well, he went through like a gut health thing as well a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And he essentially did what you're recommending, which is an elimination diet. And he eliminated literally everything down to salt. All he ate was red meat. That's the only thing. Red meat and water.
Wow.
Still water. That was the only thing he ate.
So when you say
all the time.
when you say red meat, did he didn't sear, he
there's
didn't boil?
No. You cook it, of course.
Okay.
You like if it's a steak, you grill it, but there's no salt, no pepper, no nothing.
But it doesn't work for everyone, right?
No, of course not.
no,
Of course not.
everyone's gut is different. Like every
Yes.
gut microbiome, we're all unique. Like our DNA, our fingerprint, that is unique. So it'd be different for different people. Some people can eat red meat and other meats can cause inflammation.
Right.
Like you can have a stomachache as well. And other signs might be like poor sleep or brain fog, but we have to really be aware and really tune in. And sometimes we sort of like dismiss these things, like you'll be okay, kind of man up.
Right.
But we really need to start listening to our bodies, really tuning in, and it takes a bit of time. And ideally, like if you are kind of eating meals, I suggest that people stop eating 3 hours before bed. So then the digestion process can do its job before you sleep, so that when you are sleeping, the body can do other parts. Because otherwise, that's probably why you're not sleeping properly, because you're eating too late at night, you're still digesting, and then you need to go to the toilet.
I think that's a common Malaysian problem, I think. Especially like during Ramadan or all this stuff where we would just eat at night, and then as soon as we wake up, we eat some more. So
sort of puts the circadian rhythm, the body off of what's used to for 11 months of the year. And sometimes little bits like stress as well can cause you to have that emergency trip to the toilet. It can cause anxiety, like that butterfly in your stomach as well. So that gut feeling is actually the gut telling the brain like, oh, what's happening here? So sometimes our phones as well, like sometimes it can make me feel a bit anxious depending on what you're scrolling. And just be mindful of that. And I think at the beginning of lockdown, when we read too much negative news and how that affected us.
So what role does diet play in your gut health? I mean, obviously because we our gut health is also related to what we consume.
Yeah.
And are there any sort of food that you would recommend for people that have started to experience maybe like some sort of gut problems?
Yeah.
So is there any sort of like specific types of food that you can recommend to people?
Well, again, everyone's different. I would firstly recommend that elimination diet if there is issues that you're having bread and then it's causing pain. But I would recommend to try and increase a little bit more whole foods. So like, so it might be, rice is a whole food.
Okay.
Right? Whereas like your rice noodles, your char kway teow is not, it's a bit more processed.
Yes.
So try to choose foods that's least processed, like your chicken, for example. Have your chicken breast.
Not like processed meat.
Not like the chicken
Like-
sausage, because
yeah.
I don't think there's much chicken
Actual chicken.
chicken in there, because the chicken's not pink, chicken's white. And also, if we go back to basics, like the body needs the macronutrients, micronutrients. Macronutrients, we need a lot of these nutrients, and micronutrients, we need a little bit of. So macronutrients consists of your carbohydrates, your fats, and your protein. And your micronutrients are your vitamins and minerals.
Okay.
And then there's also phytonutrients, which is like the chemicals in the fruits and vegetables. We'll leave that aside.
Okay.
Going to macronutrients, the 3 macronutrients, your carbohydrates. There's simple carbs and there's complex carbs. So more processed and less processed. So let's go for like, there's the flour, the rice, the potatoes. That's in a way in the simple carbs, like quick energy, sugar. And then there's your complex carbs, which is your fiber, your fruits and vegetables, all the colors, like your root vegetables, your green leafy greens, your papaya and your passion fruit, whatever.
And the purple one.
Yeah, they're just all the colors. Like we're just so abundant, like our mangoes and our, I don't know, durians coming up as well soon.
Kulim.
Yes.
Kulim, what kulim?
It's like this leaf that basically people use to make it as like ulam or like side dish you can make with kulim.
Yeah.
It's a healthy option because we had like
we had a vegan
It's the nut. I've had it in a mushroom soup. It's like
Probably.
a garlicky flavor.
Yes.
Yeah.
So apparently that's one of the super foods that we have locally in
Native to
Malaysia.
Malaysia.
Yeah, native to Malaysia.
I think that's the thing. Like a lot of us now, when we go for a nasi campur, there's probably like your bayam, your kangkong, and maybe pucuk paku. Pun that's just susah jarang kan. But like the ulam tu, yes, it's bitter, and luckily we have some of lacan to dip it in.
Right.
Although I don't do that, but I kind of have to chop it up myself and have it like a nasi ulam because I can't eat it like that. It's bitter. Like patai is so good for you, right?
Okay.
And but again, the nasi ulam, the nasi kerabu, they're all that kind of our grandma's food that's kind of disappearing because we do grab our roti kaya, our buns, like kids even in the kampung are now grabbing just a bun with a chocolate inside. And I'm like, no, eggs for breakfast.
Yes.
Eggs for breakfast.
I have a question. How do you feel about intermittent fasting?
I'm okay. I'm okay with it.
Have you tried it?
I've done it, That's probably one of the diets I have done. I tend to do it, so with guys it's a bit different. For us, our hormones fluctuate.
Exactly, yeah.
So I tend to do it, if anyone's listening, I'd recommend it kind of the 2 weeks after your period,
right?
And probably not in your luteal phase and during menstruation because you just need a lot of energy.
Right. The reason I asked because I tried it for like a year. I gave it
Wow.
a year, yeah.
Wow.
Last year.
Okay.
intermittent fasting.
A year,
I actually gained weight.
Okay, so then
I
it
gained
just
a lot of weight from intermittent fasting.
Yeah, well,
Rather
then
than use it.
we'd have to maybe talk afterwards and ask you like, what did you actually eat? How many calories did you eat?
Like, I'll be honest, I don't watch my diet.
Yeah.
I pretty much eat just whatever I want. I don't really control portions either. But
Like a typical Malaysian, I think.
Yeah.
But since January of this year, I kicked off the intermittent fasting, I think around November last year, end of November, early December. But since January until today, I've lost 13 kg.
There you go. What did you do differently?
I've been playing a lot of paddle.
There
So
you
it's a lot of
go.
cardio.
Yeah.
But to be honest, food intake wise, it's a lot more. Especially, it's a lot more. Like a lot more now than even when I was intermittent fasting. But the weight is just flying off. So
are you changing the types of food you're eating?
not really, no.
Not really.
I'm still like rice heavy. You know, like everything I eat is mostly home cooked. You know,
There you go. That's the thing as well, home cooked. I think that makes a difference, I think. Because I think when we're eating out, we actually don't really know what's inside it. So if we're going back to
how it's made.
how it's made, what oils it's cooked with. So going back to like the macros, so you've got the carbohydrates, simple and complex. And you've got the proteins, right? Plant and animal. And you've got your fats, kind of healthy fats and sort of unhealthy fats. And the unhealthy fats are kind of like your processed foods, your deep fried, whereas your good fats are more the nuts and seeds, got protein in there as well. And the poly and mono unsaturated fats, that's the healthier fats. And unhealthy fats is the trans fats. And saturated fats. And then saturated fats also in animals as well.
Yes.
So it's more like the juicier part of the chicken, the fatty
Like
meat
the
of the
nice
part.
fat cap on
Yeah.
the
So that when a lot of us think like we're eating drumsticks because it's delicious. Yes, it's protein, but there's actually more fat in the
drumstick?
in a drumstick.
Oh, wow.
So that's why you should go for lean ones. So like your nasi ayam, the lean. Well, that actually you get drumstick and thigh on that one, don't you?
Yeah.
But the way
Some
that
people do breast. Some people do breast.
so breast when it's cooked nicely, when you do that French style
it's still
cooking,
juicy,
juicy. When they cook the meat nicely, it's nice. Otherwise, it's dry. But like the ayam in the curry is nice, right? And fish is obviously lean, and then the oily fish, which is good for you, good for the skin, good for the heart. So not to say that, because I think some people might think of a cholesterol here now. So we do need good and bad cholesterol, so that because the bad cholesterol does all the repairing in the body, and the body needs cholesterol to make bile acid. I've learned that the hard way because there's my part. I'm not absorbing bile acid anymore, so that's the medication I take. But bile acid breaks down fat so that the body can absorb fat-soluble vitamins. So this is a reason why I got depression as well.
Yeah, what's a bad cholesterol?
So there's no such I was going to say there's no such thing as a bad cholesterol. You've got it's been like given that rep, I suppose, right? The LDL and the HDL.
But it's still good for you.
Yeah, we just need less of it.
Right.
It's like cakes and sugar. We just need less of it, and we need more of the good stuff. So you've got your poly and monounsaturated fats. So that's the cholesterol that you need. The good cholesterol. You need more of that. The omega-3s from your fish and your nuts and seeds. Flax seeds and chia seeds have the omega-3 as well. And then like the protein, you don't just get protein from your animal-based products. You can get it from plant-based products as well. I think your listeners, if they were listening to the previous podcast, Davina, she mentioned that plants have its protein. So the body needs 9 amino acids. It can make the other 6, but it needs 9 essential amino acids. And if you're eating like your chickpeas and then your nuts and seeds, then it's complete. So that's why we get a variety. So it covers all the amino acids. That gets a bit, it might need another podcast for nutrition.
Yeah, sure. It's a lot of
interesting
information.
It's
It really is. It's like an engine that the body's a bit more complicated than our car. We just need a bit of petrol and a bit of oil, right? Windshield wiper stuff, right? Water.
No, but a lot of people don't know that you shouldn't listen to like a doctor, for example, for these kind of things. Like you should listen to the health experts.
So maybe a functional functional medical coach,
Yes,
functional medicine, they call now
Exactly, yes,
functional
yeah.
medicine, traditional Chinese medicine doctor, your blood can actually
I mean, they've
tell
been
you.
talking about it for centuries. You know, the Chinese
Yeah.
The Chinese,
medical practitioners.
Yeah.
Like, they've been talking about gut health for literally centuries.
Yeah.
traditional medicines
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah, it's funny how like I was told to do like qigong actually to invite more energy into me,
Right.
and again exercise like for them again qigong is a meditation, right? It's a movement meditation, tai chi, but movement actually creates energy, gives us energy. If we're a bit lethargic, you know, a bit mengantuk at work,
Sedentary all the time.
we grab a coffee, right?
Yes.
But actually we can just go for a brisk walk and that will like brighten up. Go look at the sun and it'll just give us a bit of energy. Like the body's like a bit confused, like, you know, what time of day is it? Is it sleepy time? We're indoors all the time. It's a jewel. But there's no more movement. Like we park our car so close to the door and we don't walk anymore.
There was actually a stat about that came out earlier this week or
really?
last week. Malaysians are like the
Oh my God,
the lowest 5 walkers. Like we are the worst walkers in the world.
In the world?
In the world, yeah. Like, we are literally bottom 5.
We don't like to walk apparently.
We hate walking.
I mean, it is pretty hard.
It's pretty obvious too.
It's hard.
It's pretty obvious too, yeah.
We like to walk in malls though. Maybe they should have counted that.
And Malaysian kids that go overseas to study, I don't see them having a problem walking to and from uni.
No, I mean, it's colder.
A few
you know.
kilometers, you know. No, even in Australia, dude, where it's sunny all the time, like they don't have a problem with it.
I do like to walk. Like if I need to, like let's say I've run out of milk or something,
Right.
right? Because I need my cup of tea in the morning. So I'd like to walk. But luckily I'm just walking back because I am sweaty. You know, when I arrive somewhere, I'm sweaty. If I'm walking to the gym, fine, I'm in the gym. But if I'm like walking to a meeting, like here today, I couldn't have walked here. I mean, it would have been 20 minutes, but took a grab, right? So, yeah, but I think if we can walk in the evening, especially after food, it helps like the body use the sugar and then circulate it around the body rather than, you know, staying sedentary. It just helps metabolize faster.
Since you've been in the gut health industry for the last 5 years or so, are there any like new trends or breakthroughs that you are quite excited about now? Is there anything new that is involved in gut health that you think our listeners should know about?
What's actually happening now, I think we might have mentioned it a little bit, is that gut health is getting a little bit more personalized.
Right.
I think there's no one size fits all. Like a keto diet, intermittent fasting might work for you, and a keto diet might work for you. I think that someone you mentioned, he's pretty much on keto, very much.
It's just red meat and water.
And for me, it doesn't quite work. I feel odd the next day when I've had chicken.
Right.
But if like my relative has cooked the chicken, I might just eat a little bit. I'll be okay. But if I eat a lot of it, like I feel that inflammation, like my eyelids will go puffy. I feel it in my ankles and my fingers.
Right.
So that's like a sign. And I get it when I have these kind of buffet style meals. And I'm not sure if it's MSG. Some people say MSG is good, some is not. But if your gut can deal with it, then you can. But I've lived in the UK for a while and I've lived here maybe. I've just not got whatever it is I need to process it.
Right.
So again, it's just, gut health is getting a bit more personalized. So I'm really quite excited of how things are going.
It is interesting. And especially awareness about gut health. Especially since the pandemic is really exploded. Like, a lot more people are more aware that this is a thing. Like gut health actually affects the rest of your body. Not just the brain, but the rest of your body.
It does. And then when it affects your body, you start to think like, why am I so tired? And then it gets into that negative thinking and it affects the brain and it affects how you feel about yourself.
Unfortunately, we only have like one more, we have time for one more question. So if our listeners can take away anything, maybe just one thing from today's conversation, what would you hope it is? And let's say if our listeners are interested to find out more about you and your journey, where can they find you?
If one thing that the listeners can take away is that can listen to your body, your gut, and your mind is connected. There's not one size fits all, and every day is going to be different. But our gut, just remember that our gut isn't just a digestion process. Whatever we eat, we absorb, good and bad. So go on your own diet, whatever it's called, and then do something to perhaps make a change and see whether you feel different.
Right.
And it might take about 2 weeks. I would suggest at least 2 weeks. If there's an issue, if you want to make a change, start by adding something. If it is more vegetables, then try adding in one or two new types of vegetables. That's not your kangkong and your bayam.
Okay.
Maybe I don't know, terong or
potato and onions.
Yeah, potato and onion. More onions. Onions is the prebiotic fiber, and asparagus.
Okay.
Asparagus. Sort of experiment. Like, what's that quote? Doing something the same but expecting different results, right?
Definition of insanity.
Definition of crazy or something.
Insanity, right?
Yeah, insanity. Yeah.
Definition of insanity.
I think that was Einstein.
That's it. Yeah. So I think like they've got the room, and we're all guilty of being comfortable.
Yeah.
We're in our comfort zone, and we have our habits, but we need to break habits, keep it consistent, at least 2 weeks, and then see how you feel. And then if people do want to find me or they have any questions about gut health or about
fitness in general.
Usually it's about how to lose weight.
Okay.
But I always say go for health, and then the weight will just drop off.
Yeah, exactly.
Malaysian
as a
sweetness.
I
second.
have actually found that out myself. Yeah.
Yeah, so they
Don't
can
think about losing the weight.
Yeah.
Think about being healthy,
Yeah.
and it'll work.
That's right. So again, sleep, stress is all involved in it, right? So I'm on Instagram at rita.mangan, and my gut health page is HGHY Nutrition on Instagram as well. And then with HGHY, I created a product to help people improve their gut health. So it's a fiber drink with the prebiotic fiber, as well as some other extracts, fruits and vegetables, about 20 ingredients in there to help the gut microbiome. As a lot of people are feeling a bit more focused, more energy, and the movement of bowel is better.
So this is your own product?
Yeah.
Okay. How long have you been working on this?
So it's been in the market for about 1.5 years.
Okay.
It's halal certified.
Awesome.
It's been through KKR, the labs and everything. A factory in Kedah helped me develop it.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So if you guys are interested to find out more about fitness, we want to find out more about gut health, you guys can follow Rita on Instagram, rita.mangan.
Yeah,
right?
Mangan. That's my surname.
All right.
So, but I think Rita Kalsom, if you remember that, you can find me there as well. Rita Mangan on TikTok. I tend to reply to most people. Yeah. If they've got a genuine question, then I'll reply.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah. So, anyways, thank you again so much for joining us on this.
It was a pleasure
podcast.
having you.
Thank you so much for
Learned a lot.
having me and giving this
we-
opportunity to share.
Yeah. And if you guys want to have, if you guys have any recommendations on who we should invite or what we should talk about, let us know in the comments. You can just DM us on the La Project.
Yeah. But until then, go blow up Rita's page.
Go check her out. Find out more about fitness. Find out more about your gut health. And as Malaysians, we need to do that. And again, thank you guys so much for watching. See you next time.
Peace.
Let's go.